Did you hear that?
I did hear that.
The doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Was it loud?
Yeah, was that my phone? We are live on Facebook. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Smart with Your Money Live. I am Chase Peckham. I am the Director of Community Outreach and Education at the San Diego Financial Literacy Center, the education arm of DebtWave Credit Counseling. And as I am every other week on our Smart with Your Money Lives, we have my fellow compatriot, Felipe Arevalo. And today, Phil, we're going to talk about financial steps before buying a home. And I know that this is a big conversation that so many people are having right now as we have come out of this pandemic. One of the things that was not hurt by the pandemic is housing and the housing market. And it's not necessarily great news for buyers, but it is great news for home sellers.
Right. It's a different kind of market out there right now. Let me tell you, it is not an easy one to be a buyer in. But we actually want to start today with a short video it's kind of illustrates in a fun way how the real estate market works. So bear with me here. I'm going to share that video, and we got this video. It is you can find it on Instagram. We found it on YouTube. Let me see. That's how you share it. All right, we will play this, and then we'll go back to our regular one. This is kind of how the market is these days. And it was, thank you, special thanks to Katie for sending it over. It was really funny.
Excuse me, is that apple for sale? Yeah, we're about to put it on sale right now, actually. Well, I'm in the market, so tell me about your apple. Why should I buy it? Nice try. Okay, people, here's how this is gonna work. I have an apple here. The highest bidder's going home with this. I want all bids in the next 2 minutes, then we're closing it. Bidding starts at $5.
Feeling pretty confident there, huh? I mean, don't you think?
$10.
He said starting at 5.
15.
Is this a new apple?
Yeah, just listed. I'm pre-qualified. I'll pay cash. I got cash. 20, 30, 40. No, just make it 45.
Is it even worth that?
50. I don't know. Please, this is the 8th apple I've tried to buy.
Could I at least see it up close?
Nope, it's an apple. You know what it is. You either want it or you don't. I'll take it for 100.
What? I'm from California. It's the cheapest apple I've ever seen.
120.
Why did I do that? Why? I don't.
I want to be
there. And again, that was by creator Johnson Files. Johnson Files, Instagram. You can find him on YouTube. I believe he's on Facebook here as well. So, but this honestly illustrates how the market unfortunately is these days.
Well, and Phil, I mean, I guess we can come out with it. You are currently in the market. You are currently going through this process, right?
Yeah, I'm in the market. I'm in the market as a buyer, not a seller. And honestly, sometimes you see something pop up for sale, and by the time you get around to wanting to go look at it, it's gone. It's pending. It's really quick. You got to be on it, and even then, when you're on it, you're going to be a little slow sometimes. So
yeah, I mean, I think as we go on here, the key message that we need to get across is be patient, and just be diligent. And so because it can frustrate you. So just if you follow along today, get an idea of what it's been like, and you'll probably be better off for it if you're just armed and you're ready to pounce when the timing is right.
Yeah. So let's get right to it. First, reasons to buy a home. Make a checklist. Make a list of reasons why you want to buy a home, and make sure that those make sense, and make sure that it's the right time for you. If you're planning on moving anytime soon, if you're not sure you're going to stay in the area that you're in, that would be a big check mark in the not to go buy a home category, potentially. So find out what the reason is, and make sure that it's the right reason, and make sure that you're ready.
And especially in this time, but I think this just goes without saying because we went through it and we have homeowners or future homeowners that we've worked with for so often. And sometimes you feel like you're being left behind if you don't. And you might, we have a tendency to jump into things that we wouldn't normally jump into because you feel like, oh, I've got to get in because the market's like this. And the fact is that the markets are going to go up and down. We just happen to be in the kind of market that we're in right now. But make sure that you are looking for a home for the right reasons. And if it adds up for you.
Yeah, for sure. And then my favorite part before making any big or small purchase, arm yourself with information, do some research. This is a big purchase, so do a lot of research. Make sure that you're, on top of it, and make sure that you're, everything from the financing to home prices to, the market and what it's doing, and look up as much information as you possibly can. It's something where in today's world, we have access to information like never before. And we can be much more educated as consumers for anything than previous years, where the information was safeguarded by a select few who were in the know. Right now with the internet, you can all look up all kinds of information.
You can, but you got to be careful too with the internet. I mean, as far as all the different housing sites that you have, what homes are worth, all those kinds of things, you can't keep up with the information fast enough. So not always is that information going to be bottom line, right? It's not going to be absolutely 100%. So make sure that, you fill yourself with lots of information, but arm yourself with somebody who knows.
Yeah, which brings us to the next one. Build your team. Like Chase was saying, you can look up all the information you want, but the information that you're looked up last month may not be applicable today. In today's market, it's ever changing. It's always high pace and things are always moving, and you need a team who is a professional to do a lot of these things. Home buying is not something like you could just pop into the grocery store and buy a carton of milk. It's a whole different thing. And
things you looked up yesterday might not be the same today.
Right. And there are individuals who do this for a living who their job is to be on top of it. And you really got to find someone you trust, and you really need to find someone who will have your best interest and is willing to work with you as long as it takes. And I think that's key in today's market. You don't want someone who's going to rush to try and push you into something that you don't want to buy. It's when you're ready and what you're ready for. And you need a team that's going to be there for you, potentially for the long run.
Yes. That's absolutely 100%. And so if you can get referrals, ask people people you trust that have been through this before. And if you ever feel like you're being pressured, like you got to jump on this now, maybe that's not right for you, unless you're in that situation where you've got all the cash you need in hand, you have all that ready to go, and you have somebody, then go. But I mean, if this is something where, you're in the process, take your time, relax a little bit. Don't make sure that, if it's, find out if you figured out, like we talked about before, with having the checklist and creating the plan, figuring out if it's, if you're in a place where school districts are important and you're going to be there a long time, and you're looking in certain areas because you want your kids to go in a certain school district, find a realtor that knows that area backwards and forwards that can help you literally hold your hand through the whole process. Yeah. Because that's so important that you feel like somebody's got your best interest.
Yeah. And this is something I personally always struggle with. And I know that from experience, from everything. I do my research, jump into something, and then the first person who helps me, I feel like, oh, I got to go here. No, this is one where I am taking my time. I'm going to talk to many different people before I pick my team, because this is a big one. I don't want to make a mistake on this. This isn't like, oh, which of these sandwiches do you recommend today at the golf course? And if you get a bad sandwich and you're like, man, I should have gone with the pastrami, it's not
follow
the
your
end
gut.
of the day. Right. This is a whole different ball game. You want to make sure you talk to different people, and you make sure you have the right team for you.
Absolutely. And you
then,
mentioned team, yeah. Phil, right? So when we talk just about realtors, but it's also this finding the right lender for you is extraordinarily important, just as important. In fact, if you have a lender and a realtor that can work together, that even know each other, that can help this process so much faster as well.
Absolutely. And it's something where, you know, if you find part of your team, maybe you ask that part of your team that you now trust, that now you've decided to go with, for referrals to someone they work with in your area, to for, you know, maybe someone they work with regularly, and them having that previous line of communication is going to be key in when it is time to make everything mesh and make everything move as smoothly as possible, like you will need it to in today's market.
Yeah. And what does pre-approved mean? And this is, you know, you'll see this, you'll hear pre-qualified, as we did in that video, right? That was the kid came in and goes, I'm pre-qualified. Pre-approved and pre-qualified they're different, but they're kind of interchangeable. They're pre-qualified is somebody that just looks up your, you know, they look up your credit score, and they give you a very quick, like, okay, this is what you can do. Pre-approved means they've gone through everything, and they know exactly what you can afford. And this is good on a couple different levels. This is good because A, you know how much you can borrow, you know how much home you can afford or want to afford. Right? Because there is a difference. They can pre-qualify you and say, hey, we can approve you for a $600,000 home. And you might say, well, I may be approved for that, but is that really what I want to spend on a house? And can I afford that, you know, that mortgage per month, and taking into consideration what all those costs would be? But at least when you go into a market, especially like it is now, and you go to look at a home with that realtor and you love it and you know you can afford it, you can put in an offer in right then, and there's no questions asked.
Yeah, it's definitely something where you might get pre-approved for more than you're willing to buy.
Yes. Be
Because
careful.
your monthly expenses, you know, don't forget your budget. You know,
That's right.
we keep saying it all the time, but you have to fall back on your budget, and you know, your expenses might be completely different than someone who who gets a pre-approved for the same exact loan as you, but maybe you have more expenses, maybe you have less expenses, and you know, not everything pops up in your credit. You know, if you have kids and you have childcare, that's extra money that you don't have on a monthly basis, that doesn't show up on a pre-approved offer, and you know, it shows up in your bank statements when you got to send those in, and it shows up in things like that. But you have to take that into account and say, you qualify me for that, but I can't afford that. And at least comfortably, without having to be in a month-to-month, you know,
Especially,
house.
yeah. And lenders are looking at your gross income as well, you know, as part of all of it. So it's not taking into consideration your net income, you know, after everything's taken out, taxes and take your medical and all that stuff that's taken out of your paycheck typically. So that's something that you have to look at. And that's where, you know, depending on where you are, you need to really take a look and go, this is what we want to afford. Just because you can get us, you know, approved for a $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 home doesn't mean you necessarily should. On the other end of it too, if you're renting and you know that, okay, buying, I might have to spend an extra couple $100, $300 a month more than I'm paying for rent right now, but you got to look at the long term. That price right there, that is going to be fixed for the next quote unquote 30 years, where rent, depending on where you are, can go up after your lease is up every year. So you do have that peace of mind. So think about that as well.
Yeah, and for those of you who are watching and are not in the Southern California area, we're throwing around these big numbers because unfortunately in this market, that's the giant numbers that it requires to take out loans.
But I've been talking to people across the country, and so have you. This is not just a California thing. It is booming everywhere, all over the country. Maybe not those prices, but the housing market is hot.
The housing market across the board, it is going to be hot for whatever area that is. I mean, San Diego came in with second highest increase, highest increase in 16 years, second highest in the nation. So we're a little ahead of the curve there, but the real estate market is just, it's booming across the board. So whatever that means in your area means every little area will have hyper focused parts that apply only to them. But for in general, it's very hot. And then now you have how much money you can spend. You've calculated how much money you can afford, and then how much you can comfortably afford, and then search for the home. And honestly, this might be the longest part of the process. This process
Right now it is.
Right now it is, yeah. This part of the process, I don't have an end date for. It is just going to go on and on and on until you find the home. And I left it in capital on purpose, not a typo, because you got to try and search for the one that works for you price wise and everything you're looking for. Chase mentioned school districts, the size of it. Do you have multiple kids? Do you need 3 bedrooms? Do you need you want upstairs, downstairs? Do you need a garage? Do you need parking? Are you going to what type of home? You got condos, townhomes, single family, detached.
Do you want a backyard? All these things.
Backyard for pets.
Is it a fixer upper?
Right.
Do you want it turnkey?
Right.
It just depends on who you are. If you're Mr. Fix-It person and you see a potential gold mine, and what I mean by that is a diamond in the rough, man, that's awesome. But if you're the kind of person like me who has a hard time fixing anything, it's kind of it needed to be a little bit further along.
Yeah. And everyone's going to be different with whatever comfort level they have. Some people look at it like, I love this huge bedrooms and this and that. It's a tiny kitchen. That's okay. I don't cook. But to me, that might be important. So it's going to be different for everyone. I want the bigger kitchen because I don't like bumping into people while I'm cooking. But and so you got to go and be patient and find the right area for you. Don't reach out for something that you're going to regret in a year or two, because this is a big purchase and you really want to take your time with this part of the process.
Absolutely.
And this is where having the good team and having someone who's going to willing to sit with you and say over and over and over, no, this isn't the right one. That's where it's really going to come into play.
Don't get stuck. We talk about this when you're talking about your budget and purchasing anything. Don't let the emotions, step back and take a breath, because, there's going to be so many offers on all these things. They're gone before you know it. And you're going to be like, you get into that like competitive thing. It's almost like you just got to go.
Yeah.
Take a step back and go, is this really what we're looking for, what we want, before you get into it? And if it is, go.
Yeah. You got to take a step back, but in today's market, don't step too far back, because by the time you make up your mind, it's gone. So you got to act fast. Once you do find the one that you like and you say, this is it, this is my dream home, go get it and stay within your budget, be smart, but jump on it. And this is again where the good team really comes into play. Make your strongest offer that you can make and get it done as fast as possible, because if you delay in today's market and you say, let's see what we see next weekend, that house might be gone by next weekend. It might be gone by tomorrow. It might be gone by tomorrow. So if you fall in love with the home and you say, this is it, this is my house, give it your best go. And you don't want to be trying to, this is where your team will help you and they can guide you and say, you know what, this is a realistic option at this price point. This is what you should go with. Because as regular consumers, we might look at something and say, oh yeah, we can do this. And the realtor might be saying either A, that's not, we can do it, but you're not going to get it. Or B, you really don't have to go that high on this one, I don't think. And it could save you money, or it could save you just, put a little bit more of a real life, this could happen, let's go for it. Or, I don't know if it's going to happen, or yeah, we're going to get this done, but you don't have to go that high. Relax. You can save a little bit. This is going to be
crazy, but do your homework about the seller. Are they a family? Are they a young family, or are they somebody that's had a family and they love young families? And if you happen to be in that situation, write a letter to them, have it ready, make them feel like somebody, because I mean, they're attached to their home too, right? The seller is probably, depending on where they are, if they've been in it a long time, they're downsizing, whatever it might be, they want to know that home that they loved and took care of for so long is going to be taken care of. And it may not just be the highest bid. That's going to be up there, and you got to be competitive, but they might also go, you know what, man, these people are young. They're starting out where we were. I really would love, a family to grow up in this home like mine did, so make it, add a human touch to it. It can't hurt.
Right. Yeah. So be ready and be smart and use every resource that you have to your disposal on that as well. So any questions? Hopefully that was, the 30,000 foot level, but what to get started with and a little bit of homework. We do have our podcast, as you probably know from if you've watched any of these before, and we recently did a episode on real estate in the pandemic and beyond, and that could be found wherever you get your other favorite podcasts,
Very
or at
in-depth.
this QR code, which will bring you to the Buzzsprout page.
Yeah, really, that was a fun episode. That really got in depth, and that opened my eyes to a lot of things. It's just crazy how the real estate market can be, it's volatile. It can be all over the place. But the main point that both guys said is be ready, and arm yourself with knowledge, and nothing can be to get started. Then get that budget together and understand what it is, that game plan.
Absolutely. And if, like anything else, we have our podcast that goes on every week, new episode on different topics, personal finance, that one. We had on real estate, we've talked economics, which sounds not as exciting as it is, but
That was actually
it
outstanding.
was actually a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I'm
we
not
do
a
have
math guy.
question, actually. Do you have to completely get rid of credit card debt before buying a home? That one's coming over from Facebook.
Not necessarily, but I will say, no. I mean, it depends on where you are. If you're choking on credit card debt, then that's going to be a problem in a couple different ways. One, you're going to have that debt that you need to pay back over a period of time. But two, they're going to see that when you go through the pre-qualifying, pre-approved process. And if that amount of debt is too high, then that's going to affect how much you can borrow. It could possibly be affecting how high your credit score is. And just from a standpoint of stress levels, it's always a good idea to have your debts as low as can be when you're going into a big purchase like that.
Yeah.
But if we're talking,
it's gonna also affect your debt to income ratio, which
ratio.
is a big thing during the getting pre-approved, pre-qualified process is,
Yeah.
If you have debt payments, whether it be credit card payments, your car payment, your student loans, that all gets calculated into your debt to income ratio. One thing you want to remember is what they will calculate is your minimum payment, but you don't want to get in the habit of making just your minimum payment on credit card debts. Otherwise, a little debt can take you 20 years, to pay off depending on your interest rate. So you want to keep that in mind, and you want to make sure that it's definitely somewhere manageable. You mentioned credit scores, Chase. The next question here from Facebook is, does my credit score affect the home buying process? And
For sure.
Yes, tremendously. We always tell people during our presentations, make sure you take care of your credit, and make sure, and this is the biggest reason financially why you want to take care of your credit, because at the time to borrow, if you're going to borrow huge amounts of money, this will be the biggest loan most people will take out in their lifetime. It's something where just a little percentage point can make a huge difference when it comes to, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of debt over the course of 30 years. It could be the difference
between a 2.75 interest rate and a 3.5, which is gigantic. But, when it comes to credit scores, especially when it comes to lending, they're more stringent on the way when they look at credit scores, and the way that industry does it is they'll look at the credit scores from all three credit bureaus, and they basically get rid of the lowest one, get rid of the highest one, and take the middle one. Kind of like in gymnastics, they lose the low score and the high score, or figure skating, or whatever it might be.
They take both the middle scores.
So it's important to take a look. It's important to know what from all three credit bureaus, where you were at, and every lender is going to have a little bit of their own secret sauce. But yeah, your credit score is a huge factor, and that's why the housing market's so hot right now. Is interest rates are so low, but that's saving people a ton of money. And if your credit is not great and you're at a higher interest rate, it's going to cost you.
Yeah, for sure. So definitely want to. But that's another reason you want to go and talk to a professional, because you might be underselling yourself. You might be overselling yourself if you get that credit score from somewhere where it's free and you get a Vantage score instead of a FICO score. your FICO score might be lower than your Vantage score. And when you go look at your offers, they pull your credit, it may not be what you see on one of those sites that gives you a free credit score, or the free one you get from your bank or your credit card company. So
and a great
really
lender is going to coach you, right? A great lender, even if they'll be honest with you and say, look, I don't think you're in the exact right spot to do this right now, but here are the things that you can do, and you can do rather quickly, and I'll stick with you and I'll help you figure that out. And so you do get the best deal for you. I mean, and a good lender will be honest with you and help you that way.
Those are
Great
questions,
question.
by the way. Any other questions? Perfect. All right. Well, yeah.
All right.
You can, like I mentioned, continue learning on our podcast, and then you can join us next time, 2 weeks from today, for preparing finances for baby.
That's a good one.
Maybe that's the next step after home. If you're just recently bought a home, or you're in the process of buying a home, maybe that's the next logical step. Maybe it's not. But in my case, I already have the kids. I got to find out where I'm going to put them. So join us again. It's May 12th, same time, same place, but preparing finances for baby.
Phil, I want to mention one more thing too. If you don't really know where your credit's at, you can call DebtWave and you can work with our counseling coach, our credit coach, and they can take a look at it for you for free, go over it. If you're in that very beginning stage, make sure that you get an opportunity to work with her, because she's really good.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for stopping by. As always, feel free to leave us a comment or a question if you're watching this afterwards on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, wherever it is you watch. Thanks for watching, and we appreciate it.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.